Welcome to RBH Access Control Training. This video will cover installation of the Integra32. Let's check if this computer is compatible with the Integra32. Click on Start, right-click on Computer, select Properties. System information screen will be displayed. Professional or better versions of Windows 7, Vista, and XP are supported. Do not use home versions. Both 32 and 64-bit versions of Windows 7 are supported, 32-bit on XP and Vista. Windows 7 is supported in Release 4.2, starting with the version 3.8.10. Older software will not work. Before installing Integra32, we recommend closing both firewalls and antivirus programs to prevent them from hindering the installation process. Please follow your manufacturer's instructions in shutting down your third-party firewalls and antivirus programs. Also verify that your Windows firewall is disabled and will not be interfering with our installation. Insert Integra32 CD into the drive. Windows 7 will ask you if you would like to continue with installation. Select Run Integra32 Startup, and Setup screen will launch. Select Next. If Auto Start is disabled on your machine, you can manually launch Integra32 installer. Click on Start, Computer, double-click on your drive. The startup screen will launch. Click Next. Make sure you're logged in as administrator and click Install Server. Select Install. Click Install. System will be installed in .NET Framework 1.1. Then it will continue with installing actual Integra32 packages. Agree to terms. Provide username and company name. They are not used for any other purpose in the system. Make sure that you're installing for anyone on this computer. If somebody else logs in, they will not be missing the Integra shortcuts. Verify your installation path. You will need it later on to add additional components and updates. Click Next. Setup will install and register necessary files and libraries. At this point, a client will be installed. You do not have to install clients separately on this first computer. Client will be only installed on additional computers, allowing people to administer the system from remote PCs. If you notice the Integra32 shortcuts being placed on a desktop, we're going to use it in a few minutes to launch the Integra. Setup is complete. Let's close the screens. Integra32 is now installed. Let's launch it. Default name is lowercase RBH. Default password is lowercase password. Click OK. The screen is open. Maximize it. Click Help and select About. It will present you with your current software version and a release number. They should match what you have seen on your CD. To connect our controllers to the software, we need to install and configure LAF200 network module. Please note the default IP address and the RS-232, RS-45 selector switch on LAF200. Please wire your LAF200 into your panel. Both power and communications will land on the green connector of the LAF200. Connect network cable, configure dip switches, set jumpers. Power cycle the panel so it will accept the new settings. Let's return to our Integra32 CD and select Install Communication Modules. Double-click on LAF200 folder and launch IP Locator. it will show you your current IP address, and it will detect LAF200s on the network. Identify them by their MAC address. You can change their IP addresses right here. Click Alter button, provide the password, and the unit will be assigned a new IP address. Here it is, the new IP address. Double click on it, and the web browser will open, asking you for the password to log in into the management interface of the LAF200. Here on a single page are all the settings that you need to change and verify to make this unit operable. Set it to RS-45, set it to match the speed you've selected with dip switches on your unit, and verify the IP port that will be used for communications. Click Apply, the unit will reboot. Close the web browser, close the IP locator and the other screens. Let's test if LAF200 is ready to communicate. First, let's enable Telnet Client. It is not enabled by default in Windows 7. You would have to go to Control Panel and follow the steps on the screen to enable this feature. It may take a few minutes for the feature to be enabled. Here we go. We're going to close the screen and start our command prompt. Let's type in telnet, followed by space, and IP address of our LAF200, followed by a space and a port we're expected to communicate on. Once you hit enter, if you see black screen with the blinking cursor as you see now, the communication channel is open, and we just use the Microsoft tool to verify the connectivity. If you have any errors in your IP address, port number, or there are some actual communications issues, such as firewalls, managed switches, lack of connectivity, duplicate IP addresses, your connection will fail with an error message. Please contact your IT person to address those issues. Simple ping is not a proper test. Let's configure our first group of panels, referred to as a network in the Integra32. Let's launch our Integra, log in, let's turn our attention to the left hand side of the screen, the configure bar, expand networks. Right click on a network 1, select the communications tab, designate this port as TCP IP port, provide the LAF200's IP address, and a port as configured in the LAF200 itself. Once you click OK, a few seconds later, our system will attempt polling of that panel. You can also verify the panel type by right-clicking on the panel 1 and selecting properties. As you see, our panel is online and ready to go. Let's right-click and perform a full download to it. All the settings available for that panel will be transferred to it at the end of this download. As download finishes, the panel will be initialized and the current PC time will be transferred to it. By default, Integra32 adds an IRC2000 as the first panel of every network. That, however, is not always the case. Let's check. First panel is IRC2000. Let's delete it. And let's add the panel of the type that we need. In this case, URC2000. We're going to give it address 1, and it comes up online almost immediately. Let's take a look at an example of panels being connected through USB port. Launch Integra32 CD, select Communication Modules, select USB to RS-45 adapter, and double-click on Windows Driver Installer. Double-click on the driver installer itself, and follow the steps to set it up on your computer. It is imperative to install driver prior to plugging in the USB adapter into your PC. Here it is, it was installed. Let's plug in the USB adapter into the USB port. Please note you always have to plug it in into exact same port. Here it is, Windows had detected it and assigned it a COM port number 3. Let's click on Start, right-click on Computer, select Properties, and then select Device Manager. Let's verify that COM port was installed correctly. Expand COM ports, and here it is, COM port number 3 installed. Next would be to wire up the USB adapter to our panel. Please make sure you set your dip switches correctly and power cycle the panel to accept the new settings. Let's go into our network settings, select Communications tab. We're going to pick Direct Port. We're going to select COM port 3 as our COM port was detected and set the speed that matches our dip switches on the URC. Let's set panel number 1 for this network. It will be URC 2000. Make sure address is 1. And the panel will come up online. For troubleshooting or installation purposes, you might be required to restart your Integra32 communication server. To do so, click on Start, right-click on Computer, select Manage. In the open screen, select Services and Applications and then Services. Integra32 server will be listed alphabetically in a list. Please right-click on it and select Stop. After a few seconds, right-click again and select Start. To enable optional features, your software needs to be registered with the license file provided on your Integra32 CD. Let's check if software registered. Click on Help, select About. No features appear on the list. Let's close Integra32. Click on Start. Select Integra32 folder. Select Integra32 registration. Let's point it to the license folder. Expand Integra32 CD, expand Licenses folder, and click on a folder with the name of your site. Let's point it to our database folder. Expand Drive C, expand Program Files, expand RBH, expand Integra, and select Default folder. Let's type in the name of your site. It matches the name of the folder containing your license file. Click Register, and we're done. Let's check if software registered correctly. Start Integra32, log in, click on Help, and then About. Enable features are listed here, as well as the company name to which it was registered. Registration files can be delivered via email as well. They will be delivered in a zip file format. Here's one on your desktop. Right-click and select Extract All. Browse to the root of the drive C, as is the easiest path to find. Select OK and select Extract. Your files will be extracted into the root of your drive C. The folder will have the same name as the name of the company for which license was registered. Here's the license inside of that folder. Let's follow now a familiar procedure of registering your software. Let's point into the license folder, drive C, folder with the name of the company. Let's take a shortcut and copy the name of this folder for reuse later on in registration process. Make sure to select on the folder, click OK, point it to the database folder, Drive C, Program Files, RBH Integra32 Default. And let's paste the name of the company. Click Register, and process is complete. You can upgrade an older panel with the newer firmware included on the Integra32 CD. To do so, let's verify the panel is online. Request a version from it. It appears in the event viewer. Let's close the Integra32 screen, click on Start, All Programs, Integra32 Security System, Integra32 Firmware Update. Please use your name and the password to log in. Let's point this application to the firmware file. Let's open up your CD, go to the firmware folder, pick the panel type, and open up the folder with the highest possible number. Select the file within, pick a panel you want to upgrade, and click Start. Update is complete. Let's click Finish, Close. Let's start our Integra32 again. Log in. Let's confirm the new version of the firmware. Here it is in the event viewer. And let's perform a full download to this panel. During the firmware upgrade process, all of the settings within the panel will be erased and need to be replaced by performing a full download. Here we go, download complete, and the current time is set. Let's get acquainted with the Integra32 installation CD. Insert CD into the drive. Click to run Integra32 Setup Installer. Click Next. Under Software Updates, we keep a list of available service packs on the CD. Double-clicking on the service pack will launch the upgrade process, which is a required step of the installation. Agree to terms. Select Next. The installation path will be detected for you automatically. Select Start, and your Integra32 software will be updated. Process is complete. In the manual section, we display a list of all available technical documentation on the Integra32. Let's double-click on one of them. It's stored in the PDF format. PDF reader is included on the same CD. You can activate it by selecting the red banner at the bottom of the page.